Hello everyone and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Leader Class Ultra Magnus from Transformers Siege of the War for Cybertron trilogy. I found this today at one of my local Targets. Very excited. Been looking forward to this guy for quite a while. Always been a big fan of Ultra Magnus back since the 86 movie. Always really liked the character. And I think this figure looks really fun. So really excited to check this guy out. Here is some really awesome artwork here on the side. Love that. Front basic window, you can see him, his accessories all through the window there, not too much else going on. Really nice artwork on the side here. This is the same artwork that's on the side of all the deluxe character boxes as well. Nothing on the bottom, nothing on the top. Flip around to the back. You can see that we are back to having Magnus have a separate Optimus Prime mode as well as the Armored Up mode. The last time we saw a Magnus figure was in Combiner Wars, and that was a self-contained figure. There was no kind of separate mode like the original G1 toy, so kind of interesting to go back to that. For the longest time, I always wanted one that was like the Combiner Wars one, and I love the Combiner Wars one, but now that this one's back to this, it's kind of like a comforting feeling. I don't understand. Like, for the longest time, I wanted it to be the other way. And then when they finally did it, I was like, but I'm used to this. So, I don't know. I'm confusing. Anyway, this toy looks really fun. As you can see, Shockwave is also available. I also found him today. So, he'll probably be in the next couple days or so. But I really like this vehicle mode. You can see pictured here, it's kind of an homage to Car Robots or Robots in Disguise Ultra Magnus, which I was a big fan of. Really enjoyed that toy. He was like 90% legs, but he was still cool, and he had the combination with Optimus. I mean, this, in a way, it kind of has a combination. No, it's not really. Anyway, let's go ahead. Let's get this guy out of the box here so we can take a closer look. So, boom. Here is Ultra Magnus out of the packaging. And I have to say, I think he looks absolutely fantastic. He does have a little bit of kibbly bits here on the back. The backpacky thing doesn't really bother me so much. The giant grill cowcatchery part of the front of the truck, again, not a huge problem, but it does just kind of hang there off the back. But overall, he really does look good. Let's get a close-up look at the head sculpt. His eyes are painted, but they are really sunken in, so it's kind of hard to see them, but they are kind of a light blue. Otherwise, you have really nice silver paint there for the face and the antenna. And then I'm assuming it's all just molded out of this blue plastic. It is on a ball joint, so you can move around side to side. Really nice. I just kind of wish those eyes were a little easier to see. They're just really... There you go. You can kind of see. I mean, it's really nice paint. It's a beautiful color blue. It's just if they were a little bit out from under the giant forehead. But overall, the sculpt looks great. You can see the chest has some of that worn, battle damage, metal scraping paint application there. It doesn't look too bad. Don't mind it. Is there any of that on the legs? There's a little bit on the feet you can see. Not so much the shins. Also, his legs are molded like that. You can't make them stand completely flat. I think you can kick them out more. Yeah, so if you wanted a really wide stance, you could do that. But you can't make him stand completely like this. His legs will always be molded at least that far apart. But, I mean, it looks fine. He looks great. The rest of his articulation, he's got movement here in the shoulder. He's got all the way out to the side in the shoulder. He's got bicep swivel right above the elbow. He's got the elbow joint. He's got wrist swivelies. There you go. Does he have waist? Yeah, he's got waist movement. Nice ratchet there in the leg. Out to the side as well. Thighs swivel. And then you have knees, not quite 90 degrees, but pretty close. And then I already talked about the ankles. So yeah, that's pretty much all the articulation you would want, especially for how bulky he is. I really do like the look of him, though. Really very G1 accurate, and I feel like the one we got in Combiner Wars I really liked a lot, but I felt like, well, to be fair, the color scheme on that, the blue was closer to the blue of the original toy, but I always kind of felt like the blue of the original toy was a little too light. I liked them a little bit darker blue, which I feel like was closer to the show and the movie. So this kind of delivers on that, which I really like. He comes with a host of accessories. He's got this massive blaster. This thing is honking. I mean, look at this. And you can tell it's cast in red plastic and then painted silver with the exception of the handle, which is nice. So, I mean, that's just a beautiful giant blaster. We'll go ahead and put that in his hand. He holds it very easily. Looks good holding it. I like that. He also comes with these two black guns. They're hollow on one side. You can see they're hollow here, but then they are nicely detailed on this side. And they have a little bit of silver paint there inside the barrel. So we'll see this more when we get into the vehicle mode. But the directions have these kind of up in the front of the vehicle mode. And someone pointed out on Twitter, and I apologize, I don't remember. There's so many tweets about these guys going around, but I saw someone post that this section here resembles the shoulder connectors on God Magnus from Car Robots when he would combine into Godfire Convoy, and he had those pieces that would flip around to the back so that the gun could peg into him, which is kind of why they have you put this in the front of the vehicle mode, because he has those pieces in the front just hang down. And then someone else pointed out that, so that's for this half of it, and then this half of it looks like those blasters on the shins, like, of Super Galaxy Convoy from Galaxy Force, aka Cybertron here. So who knows what they're planning to do with these things. I don't know if those are just two fun homages or they're planning to remold this into something else. I have no idea. But I've already spent far too long on these guns. They're just two black guns, and you can put them in the hand if you like. You could peg them in to the side bits. Wherever there's a peg, you could peg them in. There's some on the sides here. If you wanted to just kind of store these on the sides of his legs, I've seen people do that. So they just peg in like that, just for storage if you like. Which is probably what I will do with them in robot mode. And then if you wanted, they could flip up, and then they look exactly like the positioning of the same similar molded gun for Galaxy Convoy. It's all coming full circle. It all makes sense now. And of course, he wouldn't be Magnus without his shoulder-mounted missile pod things. So they peg in here. I feel like they sit a little too high up, but it's not a problem. If you tried to swivel them around so that it was like this, you could see it would get all in the way of the arm articulation. So they look all right up there, I guess. But yeah, I really like this robot mode. Really well done. Great accessories. Love the accessories, the guns, the missile pods. All fantastic. I mean, the detailing, the paint applications, just it looks really sharp. Especially in the kind of the chest and waist and shin area. It just really pops. The head sculpt is great. The paint applications are great. Like I said, a little bit of back kibble, but really not that big a deal. So let's go ahead and figure out how this guy transforms. Okay, so real quick before we get to the transformation, there are a couple things I forgot that I wanted to show off. His ability to use Battle Masters. Plugs right in, no problem. He is geared up and ready to... Ooh, and he's fading back. Anyway, he's good to go. He can use all these. He can even use their effect pieces. So if you take one of these and pop it into his blaster. Now, his blaster is actually so big that it won't fit over top. It'll just actually fit inside. And this can go in there. It might take a little wiggling, but I promise it is possible. There we go. So that's pretty cool. I think it's neat that even though it's a larger figure, it can still use... It looks a little bit small and dinky, but I still think it's cool that they can use those effect pieces. And I think you could even technically put it on the end of that, which looks ridiculous, but hey, you can do it. Let's see, what about one of these bad boys? Yeah, this fits inside as well. So that's cool. I think that's really neat. Now he even has some nubbins around his body that you can connect these to. I don't know why his shoulder would just be spontaneously firing at people. It sounds like a personal problem. And I mean, this just looks wrong. You know, I mean, he doesn't have a baby. Anyway, all right, let's get rid of that. But, yeah, so he can work with all of those effect pieces, the Battle Masters. I don't have minicons. I don't have Micromasters handy, but if you transform them into a gun or a sword, he can also wield them. So full compatibility with all the other figures in the line as far as the Micromasters and Battle Masters go. Alright, so finally getting down to transforming this guy, you're basically going to take off all of his armor. So how this is going to work, swing around to the back. You're going to pop down these gray pieces. This is kind of necessary, and I'm going to describe it. So you can see here, and I'll try to get closer. Zoom, there it is. So you can see this white tab. This white tab is part of the Optimus figure underneath, the white robot. So it looks like this cutout of the gray piece is supposed to pop up and peg into that. But good luck trying to actually make that happen. I have really tried for quite some time, and it's just not. If the tab was longer, I think it would be possible. But it's just not really long enough to catch in there, and no matter how much you push this down and in, it just doesn't quite work. So if you want to try, you can, but I really don't think it's going to happen. But you just slide these off. It's not a big deal. I mean, friction will keep them in place. They're not going to fall off. It would have been nice if they really pegged into place with that, and I think that was the intention. It's just not really going to happen. So don't drive yourself mad if you can't get it to work, because I couldn't either. So putting these off to the side, then you can take this. This will unpeg from the front. You can see that there's two pegs right here that peg into this hole and this hole. So you unpeg that, then you're going to lift this up, and that will unpeg, and then this will come off the back. These little clips here kind of clip around the spinal cord thing. We'll get into that more later. Put this piece off to the side, then you're going to come and open up these forearm pieces. I feel like it's like Iron Man taking his armor off at the end of a long day. These peg in, and it's a little difficult to get these off, but you just kind of have to wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Come on. It's a really long peg, and it pegs into this peg hole in the forearm. So just got to unpeg those. Be careful. You don't want to use too much excessive force, because you certainly don't want to snap any pegs. There we go. That one came up. I feel like the more times you play with the toy, it gets easier. Because I got to tell you, when I was first trying to figure out how this transformed off camera, some of these joints were so tight, I felt like I was going to break the darn thing trying to get it to transform. It was crazy. So now you're going to just wiggle these pieces off. There's a lot of wiggling happening. There you go. Take that off. And it's just kind of sandwiched in there. You just kind of push. Come on. Push. There we go. So you're just kind of sliding it in like this. And there's a couple tabs on the side here that tab into right here. And those little spots on the inside. So once you have all of the pieces of the armor off, you are left with the white robot underneath. Alright, so first thing you're going to do, come to the bottom, flip out heels so he stands a lot better. There we go. Next, you're going to say, hey, this is a really jarring, giant blue crotch plate here. You're going to flip that down. It's going to flip around 180 degrees and pop back in. That's like really ingenious. It's such a simple thing, and it's just really ingenious. So I applaud them for that. So here is your headless white Optimus. Just no head, doesn't have one. I'm just kidding, he's got a head. Basically what you want to do, pop these off. And these were really tight the first time. Getting those to open was really, really tight. So if yours is the same way, just be careful. But the more times you play with it, the more times you do it, they do loosen up. This will pop open. There's your head. Flip them around. and then clip this back up. And this is still kind of tight on mine. There we go. And then you can close these back up. And then here is your Optimus with all of the junk in that trunk. Hold on, there's something we can do. You can push this whole piece forward, and this is something that we're going to need to do later on for cab mode. And there's that spinal cord I was telling you about earlier. You can actually line this up and slide this all the way up, and then push this back in. And now it's on his back, which is a little bit more manageable. I feel like a little backpack is a lot better than just a giant butt. So, I think that works. Here is the white, quote-unquote, Optimus figure. Really nicely done. Really nice detail. Love the chest. I think that's really well done. Autobot symbol there. Articulation-wise, head is on a ball joint, so spin that around. Here is the swivel for the shoulder. Out to the side. I mean, basically, most of this articulation is the same as in the armored up mode because you're using the same joints. You're just putting pieces on top of this figure. So it's the same shoulder, same bicep swivel, same elbow, same wrist swivel, same hip joints, nice ratchet there. It's all the same. The one thing that's new is you do have a tilt for the ankle now. But yeah, really nice. Let's take a look at that head sculpt. You'll probably recognize it as the same head from Optimus, the Voyager class. But that's the only part of the figure that's the same. But it's painted nice. I like the blue. The red eyes are cool. I like that. Some people say, oh, it makes him look evil. I can see that, but I think you need a pop of color. The other thing he could have done was maybe blue or yellow. Silver would have just dyed in the white. It would have been not enough of a pop of color. And I feel like the yellow might have been passable. Blue would have been too much blue in a little area like that. I think the red actually looks kind of cool. So here's a side-by-side comparison with Voyager class Optimus. As you can see, the legs are very different. Thighs, he definitely has thicker thighs. Crotch is completely different. Chest is completely different. It is a completely different figure. All they kept was the head. And I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure the head's the same. Now that I look at it, maybe it's not. It might not be. But either way, they're about the same size. So this is basically a Voyager toy. It's a much easier to transform Voyager toy, but it's still about a Voyager size inside the leader class with all of the armor bits. So they look really cool next to each other. I like that quite a bit. Oh, but the transformations don't stop there. Let's go ahead and get this guy into his cab mode. So the first thing we're going to do is pop this out again, which is easier said than done. You kind of get your finger in there, and there we go. With the backpack up, it's difficult to get it to work, but so slide that back down. Actually going to keep this out this time. Going to open up the shoulders, bring this down, and like I said, a lot of these joints are still super tight on mine. I'm hoping with time I don't want them to get too loose, but just loose enough so that you can transform it without feeling like you're going to break something. But I mean, hooray for tight joints, right? I guess. Yes, maybe. Then you're going to spin this around so that this now lines up with that giant cow catcher. And let's just take a minute to check out the paint. Autobot symbol looks great. You have that kind of worn metal. So the cow catcher on this truck is no joke. You're going to put the arms straight out at 90-degree angles. And then you're going to bring these around. And there is a large tab on the back that's going to peg in there, so just be careful. Make sure that's lined up. And then this super tiny little tab on the bottom of the forearm will just kind of fit in this little well right here. So just make sure everything lines up, and then rotate the fists so that the palms are facing downward. When you come to this section, flip up the heels. Simple. Now, see these little nubs right here? They will kind of come up and sit in this little area of the leg. So you don't want to just pull the legs up or down. You kind of need to bring them up and pop it on there. So just be careful with that. And then, of course, they will peg together. And there you go. There is your cab. There's a ridiculous amount of open area in here. It would have been nice if this whole assembly just had like a track it could slide forward. That's all you would have needed. I guess they were afraid if that was sliding around for the robot mode, it wouldn't lock into place, which I can understand. But, yeah, I don't know. Just, it's a little goofy. Little empty space there. But anyway, that is the cab. Let's go ahead and take a look at all those armor pieces we have sitting around. Alright, so you take all the pieces of his Gizmo duck suit and you start to form these into a trailer. You're going to take these two shoulder pieces. You're going to flip these gray pieces down 180 degrees. And then these are going to clip together via this white clip here. So push that down over top of that. And that is that piece. These will just be closed up and put to the side for a moment. We will come to the chest area. This will fold back. This you have to kind of push from the top, and this will spin around to the front. You're going to take these two forearm pieces, and you can see that there's two pegs right here, peg holes on the back. So you will push them on there for storage, and so that they kind of, you know, angle out like that. Kind of like a heart. He loves you. Anyway, so you have this. You put that off to the side. Come to this giant calf muscle thing. You're going to unpeg this, and that'll kind of stretch out. And then this whole piece will flip out, and then this whole piece will flip out, and then this piece. So there's a lot of flipping. You can see, look how long that is. This giant long grate. Going to do the same thing with the other leg. Flipping all of the panels out. Flippity flip, flip, flip. Alright. Then you're going to take this piece, and you can see how there's kind of some pegs and stuff going on here. You're going to slide this peg in this track here, and then peg this peg into that same peg that pegged into the side of the leg. So go ahead. Whoops, I'm doing it upside down. The head has to be pointing downward. So take two. Peg that in there. Then you're going to bring the other one in and do the same so that it will kind of close in around those pieces to kind of keep them in place. Okay. Then you have to make sure that this is all straight. Make sure this is straightened out. And then you start to close this up. Now, there's going to be some connectors that connect on here, but the biggest thing is this kind of eye joint that pegs into, where is it? This piece right there. So as we start to close this up, this will peg in, and then we have to make sure that eye joint lines up. So that wedges in, that pegs in, but you want to leave this out for now because we're not done. So bring this in, eye joint, peg that all together. So you can see what I'm talking about. Those eye joints peg in right there and right there, and then those other pieces peg in right there. So I've been looking at this, and the directions want you to attach this piece to the cab first and then connect it to the trailer. I think it's easier if you just connect it to the trailer. There's two connections right here and here, and these two nubbins on the end of his shoulder pieces are just going to connect into there. And that just clicks in like that. Now these two gray pieces here are going to connect into the cab. They're going to slip over top of these pieces here, which I have to peg back into each other. So that's going to snag over top of those, which it's not doing it. There we go. And then this is just going to kind of drop on top like that. Okay. And it's a little wonky, but it works. It does work. Then you're going to close these up. So these big gray pieces here are going to clip into the sides here. So you close this up. That will peg over top of those. And sometimes it's a little difficult to do, especially when you probably don't have it pegged in all the right way, but there we go. And then this will peg into the side there, so you just bring those down. I will admit, it's a little goofy to do. It all eventually works out, but you just have to really line up a lot of stuff. So there we go. There is the trailer when you are all done. Now I feel like the wheels in the middle don't really touch the ground. And it could be that I have it a little mistransformed. You know, that's very, very possible. But I feel like I have it most of the way. And you don't really need the wheels in the middle. You have the back wheels, you have the front wheels. So it definitely rolls pretty well. You can go ahead and connect all those however you want to connect these. If you want to put these on the front here, which is kind of more G1, you can put these like on the side here if you want. You can, like I said earlier, if you want to pay homage to Car Robots Magnus, you can put these here straight down, so that those pieces look like where they stored for Rid Magnus. You could even go ahead and then put these on top of there if you want to do a combo. You could do that. So it's really up to you. Wherever you want to peg in these accessories, I kind of just like to put these on here like this. You can peg this into the back here. Whatever you prefer to do. The other thing that's kind of cool, if you have a deluxe car, fits pretty nicely there on the top for that in that red section. You could fit another one back here, but it doesn't, kind of hangs off a little bit. But at least one will fit pretty nicely in that top red section there to have a car ride on top, since he is technically a car carrier. One doesn't really fit inside because of how all the stuff stores in there. You might be able to jam a Micromaster in there, but I wouldn't be able to fit a full deluxe car in there. I think this is a really fun figure. In robot mode, he looks fantastic. Articulation's great. Paint applications are great. All the sculpting and everything is really well done. Love all the accessories that he comes with. The transformation is fun, but I will say sometimes it feels like a little bit of work. And not so much that it's difficult. I would say mostly when you're trying to peg all the different pieces of the trailer together, it can get a little cumbersome, but eventually it works out. So you just have to kind of master it. After you do it a couple of times, it really gets easier and easier. And I also feel like the first time I tried to transform this guy, the joints were so tight, especially like that shoulder where you have to open it up to get to the inside where the smaller robot head is located. After I did it once or twice, they loosened up, and they're not loose, but they're certainly a lot more serviceable. So I definitely think this guy, you know, he's just super tight joints out of the box, but you play with him a couple times and he's a lot more manageable. Oh, I just realized I forgot to put the crotch plate. What am I doing? That's terrible. There we go, much better. So I really do like the look of this guy. I think robot mode's great. I do like the finally all put together vehicle mode. I love the fact that it's kind of a little bit of an homage to Robots in Disguise / Car Robots Ultra Magnus. And I really like the color scheme. I like the little bit darker blue for Magnus, which I think really works. So I would definitely recommend picking this guy up. Now, it's got a little bit of a hefty price tag at $49.99. With Power of the Primes, we got away about $5 cheaper. They were about $45. But I really feel like they sunk a lot more paint applications into these, which is kind of why I think they're about $5 more than usual. But great figure, all the interactions with the Battle Masters, the Micromasters, even the deluxe cars in the car carrier mode I think is really nice. Oh, I also just realized I never did a comparison with Optimus in this mode. So you can see that he's a little bit taller, about a head taller than Optimus in the armored up mode, which I do appreciate. But yeah, I definitely think this is a great figure. I definitely recommend picking it up, especially if you're an Ultra Magnus fan. I think it offers a few different things than the Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus. I definitely think that was a great toy as well, but I think this one is different enough that it warrants picking up even if you have the Combiner Wars Magnus already. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you so much for watching.